welcome to episode 22 of Tales from a Disappearing City. I'm with my good old mate, Jerome Hill. How you doing, Jerome?
Good, thank you, Neil. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's all right. We were at Carnival yesterday. But
we were, yeah.
Yeah, you had a good time at Carnival?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I kind of dipped in and out quite quickly, 3 hours total. Just, saw your Abba Shanti and then had a little mooch around and then walked back home.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, Carnival is always a good spot to be. Yeah, Abba Shanti's that's the place to start Carnival. I recommend it. All right, so yeah, I've known you quite a while, probably since the 90s, I think, some point in the 90s, probably first met you.
Yeah, probably, I don't know, probably late 90s, I'd guess. I mean, it's all a bit fuzzy.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
It's definitely all a bit fuzzy now. Yeah. All right, so
which bodes well for the next hour or so.
Yeah, well, I always say memories may be hazy, like stories may be mostly true. All right, so where did you go up, Jerome? Because I don't really know much about you, where you're actually from. Like,
I'm from West London. I grew up kind of in the middle of like Hammersmith, Shepherd's Bush, Acton, Chiswick, like kind of right there, basically. Stamford Brook.
Okay, all right.
Where I used to live.
That's one of them weird district line stations, isn't it?
It is the district line, yeah.
All right. What's it like going up there?
Yeah, it was. Usual kid stuff, really. Lots of skateboarding. Yeah, lots of being on the streets on a skateboard, kind of on the way to the park. I lived by a big car park, so the car park was next door, so I used to spend a lot of time just skating was my kind of my youth, really, and my
I mean, I know you got a big love of skating and sort of graph and that sort of stuff. Does that sort of go hand in hand with that sort of thing?
I guess.
Or was that later? Was it a bit later?
No, it was sort of the same. Skating was first, and it was around that kind of. I mean, skating probably like 88, maybe, I want to say, from 88 maybe, and then graph a year or two later. But yeah, it was that West London kind of, it was very West London.
Well, do you know what, West London, for some reason that is quite, I don't know if it's the Westway and all that sort of graph up there, or like, I mean, I'm not, I'm a South London boy, so I'm never going to diss South London, but I would say maybe West London there was a bit more graph there. I don't know.
I can't, because at that time I was only living there, so I don't know what it was like in other areas of London, but there was definitely like, everyone skated, everyone wrote, everyone kind of DJ'd a little bit as well. Yeah. And it was that sort of, and for some people gave up the other two and carried on skating or carried on DJing or carried on writing or whatever, and so there was other people doing other stuff as well, obviously.
No, for sure. I mean I'm a little bit older than you, I think. So like I was into skating early 80s and sort of stuff like that. Yeah. I wasn't particularly good at it, but I loved it. Do you know what I mean?
It's so, when I look back now, it's such a healthy kind of and positive thing for like a young person to have done. Just, it's outdoors, it's exercise, and it's it's proper. There's a whole culture that goes with it. I remember going to see the Bones Brigade. They did a tour. They used to come and tour, and I think it was.
Do you want to explain who that is? Like,
the Bones Brigade. Well, it's, everyone will know Tony Hawk. Yeah. It was like Tony Hawk, Steve Caballero, who was my favourite. Mike McGill, Tommy Guerrero, who else was there? Lance Mountain. So they all came over and they did a big session. There used to be a big red half pipe underneath Latimer Road. So we all gathered there. Like,
so when was that, end of the 80s or?
I don't know. I'd say it was either 90 or 89.
Okay.
I'd say, yeah. And I just remember seeing them there and being like mad, the people that we used to watch on the, all the Bones Brigade videos. They used to put out videos, Future Primitive, Public Domain, A Search for Animal Chin, all these kind of classic videos. So that was cool to go and see them.
Well, it's a real subculture sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, like I said, I was more like early 80s, but I remember having this magazine that was American skate magazine from California.
Right.
And this has got to be like like really, I'm talking, might even have been the end of the 70s. Okay. And just how these pictures of skaters in California and all the...
Yeah.
And to me, it just seems, you know, growing up in Abbey Wood in southeast London, it was such
a million miles
away, and this super cool thing that I was just like, you know, and they had all the weird sort of kryptonite wheels, I remember, which...
I've kryptonics, are they called?
Well,
I've got them on my board.
Well, do you know what? They might have... I'm pretty sure it was kryptonite or something, but maybe they changed it. I don't know.
I think that they're the soft big wheels.
But they I know, you know, they had all them sort of nerdy sort of things about the wheels, and I'd be reading all these things about it, and these pictures of, like, you know, like I said, skaters in California with the sort of like clear skies and
they all ride along on like standing on each other's cars.
Yeah,
and they'll go down the little alleys in the car, standing on them, looking over the fences for the empty pools.
Yeah, okay.
And then just raiding people's back
gardens.
gardens.
No, but it was almost like I remember just had that I'd stare at that magazine for hours and just imagine all these sort of things. It sort of you know, triggered the sort of imagination. It was like an early sort of
it's proper,
dreaming of this sort of mad skate world that, you know, maybe never truly exists. It sort of does, but like So what about music about that sort of? What's the first sort of music you listened to? You know, what was the early records you bought?
Well, the first music I was into, well, I think I was listening to, and it's a bit embarrassing, obviously, but I know that's...
I want it to be embarrassing.
You do want it to be embarrassing.
If it's not embarrassing, I won't believe you. So
okay, well, I kind of got myself into Shakin' Stevens when he came up.
Yeah.
And then I think my dad kind of caught me listening to him, as it were, or I might have mentioned him or something, and my dad was like, "Oh, you know, he's just ripping off Chuck Berry, he's ripping off Jerry Lee Lewis, he's ripping off all these people. Listen to this," kind of thing. So he'd play me all the 55, 56 kind of rock and roll, and I got insanely into that, like really, really deep into that at a really young age. And I'd go with him to see Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh, amazing!
And, yeah.
Was he an old Ted then? Was he into?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't a Ted. He was a. I mean, he's a guitarist. So he used to be a session guitarist in the 60s, and used to play for various kind of bands in sessions. I remember he had a carriage clock from the Spencer Davis band engraved to him for some session he did.
Is there any like sort of known recordings that he's on, or like that you know about, or is it?
I'm not sure about actual recordings.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a couple, but I can't recall the.
No, that's fine. I remember like a mate of my mum's. He was like a session drummer.
Okay.
And he played on a White Shade of Pale by
Procol Harum.
By Procol Harum, and he got paid £40.
Really, yeah.
Like
he didn't play the organ on it, did he?
No, he played the drums basically.
Okay. Oh, the drums. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like years later, like they did like a retro thing where he did get some. I can't remember if they changed the law or something like that.
Yeah.
But basically, like I said, he was always, you know, again, he played on this, you know, million selling single. But I think retroactively, he got like a few grand, almost out of MCPS, PRS sort of payment, you know, but enough just to be all right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, again, he was a session musician. They just got him in, played the drums.
Exactly,
he didn't write it, but still.
There's a really good Netflix documentary actually about session musicians, and they're all a bitter lot who all appear on all your favourite albums, but don't get credited.
Yeah,
and rightly so, probably. Like, but yeah.
Well, I mean, some of them, like, I mean, again, Elton John was a session musician, like, and I think he's on quite a few tracks. He was on a lot of tracks just as a session musician, and obviously, there's a bit where he thought, oh fuck it, let's.
My favourite session story is the Labby Schifra.
Oh yeah,
which is Chaz and Dave playing the thing, which then got sampled by Eminem for what's the one?
My name is Chaz and Dave. Yeah.
So that's Chaz and Dave playing that.
I mean that was well, we're right by Southwark Park where I live, and like I saw them play like a few years ago. They played for the Bermondsey Festival, which is and obviously like they're not with us anymore. But there's one bit where they did like because they were both amazing musicians, and they appeared on loads of sessions
they
in
were
the
like highly regarded.
They were highly regarded, and obviously, you know, some people see them as Cockney sort of joke, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, misguided people. But there was a bit in their live set where, you know, they were doing all the old like Cockney sing-alongs, particularly in the Bermondsey Festival. But there was a bit of about 10 minutes. They almost did some jazz one, and he's going mental on the keys and all that. And they were really jamming out and like just showing their chops, shall we say, on the instruments. And they were incredible musicians.
I bet they were.
You know, so again, it was that thing of they were on lots of cool records.
Yeah.
So big up the Sesame musicians out there. And shouts to your dad then. So that's pretty cool.
So I have to credit him for getting me kind of into.
What's his name or
Michael
Hill? Or?
Yeah, Michael Hill. Yeah,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So he got me into all that stuff and the Rolling Stones, and you know, my mum was Beatles, my dad was Stones.
Oh my God.
Of classic.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's funny though. You said Shakin' Stevens. Because his name's come up a few times. I think Cy Brown talked about having like.
I think I might remember.
And I think someone else did. And I know for a fact I had Green Door for some reason. Everyone had this copy of Green Door in their collection.
This Old House as well.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm expecting like a new sub-label from you coming up with like really dodgy rock and roll shaky.
I really love like rock and roll from that era. There's something about the way it was recorded that just gives it this. It actually reminds me, and this is going off way on a thing, and we'll talk about that later. But the Gibber sound system, which was a sound system I used to play in the
come on then. Let's link this to Chuck Berry then.
No, but they had like I could walk into a room. In those days, every sound system had like, you know, they were cobbled together. They were like speaker boxes, begged, borrowed, and stolen, and you know, bought and made. And the Gibber sound system just had this sound that I could walk in and I'd know it was Gibber in that room because of whatever was playing. You could hear the sound, and I kind of liken it in a little way. I've only thought of this now, but to the recording of the kind of late 50s, early 60s kind of like, sounds like it's recorded in the garage or something. Like
but it's got an energy to
it. Really raw kind of like.
I mean, I love Chuck Berry. I mean, I got a real love for Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
You never can tell that record by Chuck Berry.
Yes,
and that's the sort of one. There's a few records that I know if I dig that out and I play that, I almost have to listen to it 3 or 4 times because it's only about 2.5 minutes long, but it's got such energy. Who's the player on it near the end?
Which
like,
one? The pianist. Is he called Johnny? I think it might be a Johnny, but
probably is. Probably is a Johnny. They'll call it, but it's incredible in that, and like, it's the energy of it.
It's really like high, isn't it?
No, and it's got. I mean, again, maybe we are going off tangent a lot early on, but what I say is I got a love for loads of early punk, and like, a lot of them bands, they were basically doing their version of OG rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know,
Chuck Berry was major. I mean, I could talk about him all podcast, but he's everyone's sights, like, you know, Beatles, Stones, and everyone else. He was the
real deal. He was the real deal.
And he was. I see him as like a kind of proto rapper a bit as well, because he was a real. All his songs are like, you know, it's 12-bar blues, really simple, 3-chord kind of things with his licks over the top. But all the lyrics are just syncopated kind of storytelling kind of. No,
for sure. Yeah. And also, he didn't give a fuck as well. And he come from an era, obviously, like a very racist era. And he was. I know there's lots of stories about him like pulling guns to getting paid his money, and
he was Mr. Business. Like
again, it was that thing of like, it's almost then back in them days. It was like if he weren't a little bit gangster, you wouldn't get paid your money. People would be ripping you off, and like I said, he didn't take no shit.
He's one of the first kind of. Yeah, he used to travel without a band. Like, he'd just turn up and hire a local band. Even when I saw him, it would be, like, more recently. Like, he died a few years ago, but the last time I saw him was probably about, 8 8. I say 8. It's probably like 12 in Hackney Empire.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, he started touring with his son, and his daughter were like part of the band, and yeah, so they had rehearsed a bit, but usually they wouldn't. You know, the band would be like looking around, like trying to get hints of what key it's going to be in, like, and he'd just launch into it.
Well, to be honest, like most people there to see Chuck Berry, so like, you know, but yeah, no. But yeah, because there's an album, it's an amazing album actually, because like in Vivian Westwood and Malcolm McLaren's shop in here, in the King's Road, they had a famous sort of jukebox. Right. Because like McLaren and Westwood, they originally were selling like Teddy Boy clothes in the early 70s. It used to be called Let It Rock, and you know that sort of thing. But their jukebox, they had all the OG like 50s rock and roll. So that's why, if you like, lots of the early Sex Pistols stuff, like. You know, they're sort of they were sort of covering all them.
I feel like they did a cover of Johnny B. Good.
There's one on the Great Rock and Roll Swindle, I think, where John Lydon is just like, he starts shouting, "I fucking hate this song. It's fucking awful," as they're launching into the sort of rock and roll sort of cliche of it, but in a cool sort of punk sort of way. But yeah, there's this album of and it's all like these obscure sort of rock and roll 45s that are on the Sex jukebox in King's Road.
Yeah. There's one really big hall of. And I shout Keith Tenniswood for this. It's Lily and Ivy from
the Cramps.
The Cramps. Yes. So they released like this massive dump. I can't remember if it was on CD.
They did a series of loads of them.
Yeah, exactly.
They were amazing.
Volume 9, Volume 10.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's all just like proper raw, like no hit wonders kind of thing. Like really wicked tunes. Yeah.
There's from that scene, I mean, I've got a few like mad compilations from the 80s, and there's ones that I think they're all like, they're basically sort of strip joint comp albums, but they're all this sort of sleazy rock and roll meets fuzz.
Oh, the ones where they like swearing in.
Well, there's basically. There's some really again, it's like always, isn't it? There's these mental records from the late 50s, early 60s, which I think was like on the Lux and Poison Ivy sort of.
Yeah, like what did I say? Lily and Ivy or something? Yeah, Lux and Ivy. That's it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but on that sort of vibe.
There's one. It's like a doo-wop tune, like a really classic kind of late 50s doo-wop, like, you know, a vocalist and 3 backing singers all sharing a mic, clicking, and it's called "Don't Fuck Around with Love." And
I know that one. Yeah, I've heard that one. That's amazing.
That sort of stuff. There's if you dig, there's quite a few that are like, what?
Well, no,
did they swear in the 1950s?
Well, I know there's like a Dirty Blues album I've got, and that's the same thing. And there's loads of 4-letter profanities, so they're all like 50s tunes.
Yeah.
And again, because they, in one way, it was like, because they were like these rhythm and blues, you know, because they had what they called like black records, based, you know, they were basically aimed at the black community.
Yeah.
So if you like, they were less had the, I don't know. I think with the more you could get away with this sort of stuff, you know. So there's loads of swearing and sex
policed.
Yeah, less policed, you know. And there's loads of jazz records in the 30s about like smoking weed and doing heroin and doing all sorts of stuff, and they're sort of couched in sort of slang, but some of the slang is not that sort of, you know, it's kind of obvious what they're talking about. But yeah, anyway, we're sort of veering off it a little bit, but that's cool, you know. Yeah, so
that was my music for quite a long while, and I remember my first records that I ever bought as well, which again are nicely embarrassing. You'll be rubbing your hands together.
Yeah,
there was It was a session. Woolworths, went to Woolworths, of course, where all the cool kids got their records.
Exactly, yeah. Pick and mix and a 7.
Exactly, yeah. Handful of pick and mix on the way, and it was Billy Idol, "Hot in the City."
That no. See, like, I don't think that's embarrassing.
No.
Oh, I think that's a tune. Yeah.
All right, and Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé, or whatever her name was.
Yeah. All right.
Barcelona.
Well, do you know what? That's a bit of a classic as well.
I mean, they're both classics.
I don't know. I mean, I've actually got a real love for Billy Idol, and I think it's almost grown over the years. So, like, I do have maybe it is a guilty pleasure, but like, I've got like some 9-minute 12-inch of White Wedding that is absolutely amazing.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, he used to be kind of, well, he was cool, I guess. definitely he was in that. What was it? System X. What was his band?
Generation
X. Yeah.
Well, there's all, again, I'm really into my early punk sort of stuff, and there's loads of amazing photos of him, like 16, 17 as a sort of punk, and then you sort of see what, you know, he was sort of this sort of Bromley sort of boy, you know, doing this sort of thing, and it's kind of amazing how he went to LA and just become this, you know, incredible sort of pop star. I mean, the thing with Billy Idol is, I mean, he did look amazing. He's definitely, even the early photos of him in the punk, he's got like this sort of, you know, he's very good looking, sort of, you know, he's got the look. He's got very chiseled. He's got the Elvis little sort of sneer. But yeah, no, I would have a word said against Billy Idol.
Okay, you know. All right. Well,
you know, so yeah, I love it. I mean, because they actually I did actually kind of want to see it last year. They did that thing. I think it was Generation Sex, where it was Steve Jones from the Pistols with Paul Cook, and I think they had Billy Idol doing vocals.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of, you know.
Crossing the streams.
Yeah. All right. So Billy Idol and Barcelona. All right. What after that? And what sort of, you know?
I mean, I can't remember what year that was, but then there was a point in, I guess it would have been 89. I'd guess maybe late 89, possibly, where for some reason, I don't know. Friends, or there was suddenly like pirate radio awareness, and it was all new.
So music. You're still in Stamford Brook, is that right? Yeah.
I'm there in school, and suddenly it was something different, and it was alien, and it was exciting. It sounds really cliche. It was exciting, but it was a new music to me, and there were tapes being passed round, and so I remember clearly like taping over. I used to have all these cassettes.
You didn't tape over your Shakin' Stevens albums, did you?
I mean, Shaky was long gone by that time. He was like, he'd been taped over by like.
All right, yeah.
Okay,
you know. All right, if you say so, yeah.
But probably the same tape though. You know, sellotape up the bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So Fats Domino, Chuck Berry over Shaky, and then it was Fantasy FM over.
Was that the first one then? Was it the first?
That was the one that we were kind of. Yeah, that was the one we followed. Yeah. Really, and it was just. I mean, I can't quite imagine. I can't quite remember how I felt individually about the.
Do you remember hearing about it, or just sort of just because
it just suddenly
appeared.
I mean, obviously there was a way in, but I don't remember what.
Probably someone taped it and you heard a tape or something like that, or I don't know. It's just like,
I think, it was my mate James, shout out to James, we used to go around his house a lot, and he was like, he'd be, I think maybe, well, his bedroom was really up high, maybe that had something to do with it, and he had a good sort of stereo tape to tapey kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So he used to make lots of tapes. And I think I could sometimes get it, sometimes not get it. Kind of, you know. It was
what was the signal like? I mean, was the signal right for him? Because
it was.
I remember Fantasy had a pretty good reach.
Yeah, I mean I think they were east, like Hackney or somewhere like that. They were definitely east, and we were west. But you'd have bits where it would drift, and it would drift into kind of fuzz, and then drift back. Not all the time, and at the time that was really annoying. But when you listen back to the tapes, I love hearing all that.
But that's the weird thing with that. Yeah, at the time it was kind of annoying, but then now it's that figure of it's like
authenticity. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the little crackles or the bit when it's suddenly you get the weather forecast from like Radio 4 cuts in or something, and then suddenly it goes back to like
exactly.
You know, some killer sort of tune or like
and same with the DJs talking. Like we'd always try and like tape to tapes and cut out the talking, like pause button, play again, and get rid of all the talking. Whereas now, whenever I listen to any of those tapes, the talking's like you know the tune's like the back of your hand now, but the talking's the best bit. Like it's really like the adverts as well are amazing.
Did you hear that thing? Someone put out these compilations.
I have it, and I play it. Well, I've stopped doing the show on call, but I used to play them on call. The little adverts, including there's like a a Dateline one.
Yeah.
Boy ravers, if you want to meet girl ravers, phone this number. Like, yeah.
Did you phone that number, Jerome?
No, I wasn't allowed to use the phone, obviously. Right, yeah.
It's probably £2 a minute or something at the time, which would have been a lot of money. No. Well, do you know what? I did find a tape, like, I think last year. It was just some random cassette, and then I put it in, and it was like Sunrise from 1989.
Right,
I think it's Matthew B on Sunrise. I'll have to encode it and put it online, because it's, and again, it's one, and actually, because he's talking on it, you know what it is. Thank God.
Yeah, and it's like I've said it a lot before, but like the guy I always used to listen to was Hype, DJ Hype, who everyone will know, kind of. But yeah, his sound palette, if you like, for what I used to play was really.
All right. So what was it about Hype then? Just explain that.
Well, it was the scratching first of all. It was his scratching.
Yeah.
He had the chat as well. He was funny, and he had the tunes. It was like there was a lot of. I didn't know what any genres were. To me, it was just all came at once. It was this new. Well, I guess it was new to everyone, really. Like it was. Looking back now, I know it was like some US kind of like new groove, kind of US house, techno from America, from Europe, techno from the UK, as in like early Warp and Cat and Network and all these sort of labels. And he liked his hip hop as well. He was obviously like a kind of hip hop DMC DJ before the raves hit. So yeah, it was all that kind of influence. Like he used to play Hijack and
it was I mean Fantasy was like 89, 90 I think, and well maybe when it started, but it was like it did have that weird sort of hybrid. Like you said, they'd play some quite mad US house.
Yeah, some of it was really kind of singing and
I mean there's some quite cheesy tunes.
Even the cheesiest ones, if you listen back to because I've still got a couple of
Twin
these
Hype,
tapes.
like for those about a group.
Oh, but
no, it's a tune.
That's a wicked. I still play that.
I love it, and Young MC and all them sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly that sort of thing. Young MC is such a West London tune as well. But what was I saying? Even the cheesiest stuff, like when you listen back to it now on these tapes, because I've got a couple still, it sounds wicked because it's like, because of the crackle and it's fading in and out, and it's like, and you've got someone kind of mumbling over it, like giving out pager numbers. It's just, it didn't sound too cheesy at the time, kind of to my ears. I think.
No, I say cheesy, but like, I mean, again, I love all them tunes as well.
It was cheesy though.
It was cheesy,
and a lot of the mixing as well was terrible on Pirate because no one had been mixing like longer than a year, kind of thing at the time. Like
no, exactly. I mean,
but hype was like. You know, he had it.
Like you said, because he come from the hip hop background. Yeah, he had that way of mixing that's more like from the hip hop style of doing it.
No, definitely. Cutting like.
Yeah, it's more. Maybe it's. I mean, I'm trying. You'll probably know better than me, remembering the hype shows, but I don't know if he was more cutting rather than blending stuff or what is.
Yeah, it would be like one tune and then like full crossfader sweeps to the other side on like just catching little beats and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and that's more the hip hop way of doing it.
Like, and
the kind of I still quite like mixing like that almost. It's like and that is like the hip hop cutting in, and if you like, you can get away with more. You can get away with it more doing that sometimes than if you're trying to do this perfect, like smooth blend. When some of them old turntables,
exactly,
they would always go out. Like they weren't always Technics.
You're keeping it in time when the crossfader's that way. You're cutting it, keep it in time, like, and you can hear it all like.
I mean, and I do remember actually doing pirate radio a bit later for chilling. When we're in some moody flat, and we're set up in this like. Flat in the dark that's been broken into and we're broadcasting from, and they weren't the ideal setup for mixing it, like monitoring, so
I bet the setups were pretty shoddy.
You'd probably perched on some sink and something like that,
the kitchen sinks. But
I
don't know, I never really thought about the set, all that sort of era. It was just like I was very it was our thing. Like, I didn't think about the backstageness of it all, or like where it was coming from.
Well, like in a way, it's, I guess, like I said about the me looking at this magazine with all the skate thing in. Like, your imagination, like like in a way, you don't want to see all behind the scenes. You just hear it.
Yeah.
You hear it through your radio, and you probably think they've got some incredible studio set up like this. So there's this amazing setup, and and
no, that was I mean, that's my biggest kind of influence, I think.
Yeah, was there anyone else apart from Hype on Fantasy, or do you listen to
there was lots of people. There was, the names, like, there's a guy called Shadow Fax.
Yeah.
He used to play on there. There was Chrome as well, from Chrome and Time. He was good. He used to play good stuff. The DJ Rap was on there as well. I know your sister was on there too.
Yeah,
Stacey. I think there's I don't know if I ever heard her live, but I have seen there's a tape around somewhere, or a recording.
There is a few tapes,
with her back to back with Hype in the studio.
Oh, okay.
I seem to remember. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, which is, that's mad.
I mean, did you see that photo that was in the Sarchi exhibition? Like
I think I saw a picture of it. Yeah.
Because that's when she's on Fantasy.
Yeah.
And like she's standing there. And like she's 17, she's got these big old hoop earrings on, like total South London girl, in a cool way. And then behind her is Foxy, who ran the station.
Okay, right.
Yeah, with this gigantic mobile phone, like a proper
big brick.
Proper brick, like businessman mobile, end of the 80s mobile phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great photo.
And is he running it now? Because they came back, didn't they? They're now an internet station.
I'm not quite sure. I know a few years ago she did say. Again, I think she met up with a few of the old crew, including Foxy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's related to that. So answer to that is I don't 100% know.
I remember hearing it was the same.
It would make sense if it would make sense if it was.
Yeah.
But I know Stacey said she always had a great time on there, and as a young girl, she they sort of looked after, if you know what I mean. There wasn't it wasn't like a moody sort of setup.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so important for me. Like all my kind of tunes, the kind of basis of the tunes I was buying, which I'd then go out and search for these records. After hearing them, it was all like Beltram, loads of Beltram stuff. Like not even Energy Flash, just all this other stuff.
Well, I love the ones on New Groove. I just think they're incredible.
Yeah, New Groove. Like he's done so many. And they're all like, Where Are They Hiding? The Mental Mayhem record, and
that goes for loads of money now. And that used to be like some £2 record.
Yeah.
That was one I remember buying that in New York when I lived in New York, at 89 or something. And I remember I bought that in where was it? It was the shop in Carmine Street, Vinyl Mania. I remember buying it in there, and all the big like house DJs used to be in there. And I remember them really looking down their nose because I bought that Joey's Riot record because they were like, that's just some shit techno record. So it's a banger though, isn't it?
It's such like this thing about the music from, I don't know, I'd say it like late 89, 90 definitely. Yeah. Some of them had this like, I did a tune actually called The Whist because I feel the wistfulness of that music there. It was like moroseness, I'd say. It's morose. Ed DMX actually, and we did a show together on Call.
Yeah.
And I fully credit him for the genre naming, but Bleak Beat called it.
Okay.
Which just so sums up like some of the stuff from that era. It's really like just morose and wistful and kind of, I don't know. I don't think that's me looking back on it.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It definitely is one of the most interesting times out of all that, because obviously you get the people focus on 92 hardcore and it's amazing, of course it is, but then the 89, 90 of like these weird bleep records, stuff like Break the Limits, who to me are like incredible, like
they were like half bleep and hardcore and
and they were hip hop, to be honest,
and hip hop,
all them a lot of them crews were like hip hop, and then it was just like they went to hip hop and then just rave happened.
I guess Break the Limits, Satin Storm, Black's Posse, Shut Up and Dance.
Exactly.
Like they all had that kind of, they all had a sort of MC or at least one MC who
they totally come out of all the what they call it, Britcore, Untitled, Hard Noise, and I mean, what a tune, and Hype used to mash up the a cappella of that as well. It's 100% them hip hop crews. They almost sort of fell into, and then again a lot of them early sort of weird ravey tunes that were 1990. They all had breaks in as well as drum machines,
and they all got totally sampled as well. R.I.P. MC Duke recently, like his riffing a cappella was absolutely in every hardcore kind of jungle hardcore tune. It all got rinsed. Gunshot as well.
Gunshot. I mean, because there's that album Live at the Soul All Day of the Century.
I've got that one. One of them was in that One Day in Acton, and one in, was it Hammersmith?
No, it's got it's my favourite. Acton Town Hall Get Busy. Which is like the most unromantic.
And the MC's got this amazing speech impediment.
Oh, he's got a lisp.
Which I really like. I just say it's like.
No, he goes the Workshop Roadshow.
What about now with the Workshop Roadshow? Yeah.
No, shout out to the MC with the speech impediment.
That was, I think, Congo Natty.
He's on it.
Is it Beat
Freak?
Or,
DJ Ron's on it.
DJ Ron, yeah.
I mean, and there's loads of samples of it. One Time for the Foghorn and stuff.
Loads, yeah.
But that is
only originate, never pirate. I'm sure that's.
Yeah.
That might not be. I think that's from it as well.
I mean, and that. Well, that says on the cover, and again, it's got an incredible cover. I'll cut in the cover because it's probably I don't know if it's the same guy who did all the Scientist records, but it's got that.
It looks like that.
It's got that. But it's an incredible cover of like all the crew outside. Well, I'm not sure if it's Hammersmith or Acton Town Hall, but like, and it has the dates. And I think it's 88 and 87. So, but for instance, there's bits where they're cutting up. And they have like
got Adonis
comes in No Way Back, and then they start scratching over the top, and it's this perfect sort of thing of
and there's loads of sort of slightly dodgy mixes, but really cool things to try. Of like, I can't remember any of the actual ones, but for example, like Phil Collins in the Air Tonight. That's not on it, but something like that.
Well, no, there's one where they cut in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah.
That's my favourite bit. You go chitty 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 bang bang, and then they go. I can't remember they go some hip hop.
Then they'll sort of bring up the beat underneath it, the break beat or whatever, and you can hear the DJ like kind of trying to keep it in time, and it's all going out, and it's like chaos.
That record is raw as hell, and like, to be honest, to me, this is one of the most important UK foundation records because it has this. Because again, I used to go a lot of them sort of parties. Again, I'm a little bit older than you, so I went all the lot of the hip hop and like the parties where it was like the sound system battles before Acid House. Yeah. And again, this is before Acid House, but it's got all the sort of crews battling, and you can hear the influences that a few years later were going into. Early breakbeat hardcore and jungle, and because they're just breaks, hip hop, weird reggae, and random house records as well. Yeah,
well, all the older crew who were there in the 80s, they kind of morphed it, and then it was the young people who didn't have that kind of that carry through, I guess.
Is there any other artists from that era that you think like the 89, 90 that maybe don't get repped or? Like... No, it's all right, I'm throwing it out there.
No, loads, obviously. I was always really into Blaps Posse and their label, People of the Universe, with Hop on the Bandwagon on the other side. Like, I kind of like stuff that was a bit humorous as well.
Yeah, what about Warriors Dance? And stuff?
Warriors Dance, yeah. What's that?
Tony Thorpe?
Yeah, Moody Boys.
Yeah, Moody Boys.
But what was that one? Oh, it was Let the Warriors Dance, yeah.
Yeah, because I got a record recently actually, and it was from like an 88 comp, and I think it's a Tony Thorpe tune, and it's got this weird like tribal house, and then goes into acid. I never really heard it before, but it's incredible. And it's early UK acid house meets these weird sort of Moody Boy sort of beats. I'm pretty sure it's a Tony Thorpe tune. I can't remember what he called it, but it's incredible. It's just it's on this comp, and I managed to get the promo where when sometimes they used to do the promo. What did they call them? Like a sampler or like a, and they just had one of the tunes on one side, a nice loud press, and it's this sick, and I'm like, well, it's like a new, You might know it and go, oh, all right, but
I mean,
I'll dig that out later. Maybe when we finish, I'll show you.
There's a lot of Matt. He did that one with what was it called? Acid Heaven, I think, with a great intro about this guy juggling chainsaws, and at the end he's like, stand back, and then.
But that was West London as well. There was a lot of West London stuff in that sort of scene, because that was Harrow Road and all that. I think where they were all based.
Oh, was it? Okay.
I think they're all from. I think so. I'd have to double check that, but pretty sure.
And like Vinyl Solution, obviously, like I guess they were one of the more major labels in the kind of that scene, like Eon, Eon, like you got to big up Eon, because like all his, every Light Colour Sound, Spice, Fears the Mic, like he kind of followed right through. Light Colour Sound was the one that sort of sampled Fortune or Future a little bit, so he went all the way through from the acid house, and then electro, then kind of ravey, kind of electro-y, techno-y breakbeat, like, and then he went on to make loads of kind of proper electro as well before he passed away.
No, for sure. I mean,
so Eon, in fact,
Eon. I mean,
enough.
There was a couple of years. I think when was it? 89, 90. I was living around. I lived in Westbourne Park, and I used to go down Vinyl Solution all the time, and I was on their mailing list for a while, so I used to get sent. I've still got loads of the promos from Vinyl Solution with the little sheets in, and that was like Depth Charge and Eon and Silver Bullet, not Silver Bullet, Silver Fox. Sorry,
that was the one record with Alkaline from Gunshot.
Okay,
was the MC on that, and that's a wicked record. Depth Charge meets Silver Fox. Or something. Yeah, that's like a hip hop record, really, or a hardcore hip hop record.
So record shop, did you go down Vinyl Solution then, or were you going down then, or was it before your time?
I don't remember going to Vinyl Solution. No, I was more like, we'd do the pilgrimage into the West End a lot.
Okay.
Hit all the shops around there, and there was one in West London, in Ealing, in Northfields. Pretty much you come out of Northfield Station, cross the road, do a right, and it was down there on the left. And that was called Vinyl Mania, which I know you mentioned. The New York one, but I guess that was a local one, although it wasn't that much quicker to get to than Soho, and it was on its own. So we'd usually go to Soho and kind of do the usual, like, Unity. I guess Unity.
When is this? 89, 90 or?
No, this would be like 90, definitely.
All right.
90 to even to 91, like. Unity, Black Market, music and videos. Like, I lived in the music and video exchanges, really, especially the Goldhawk Road one, which burnt down, unfortunately.
Oh, is that what happened to it?
Yeah, there was a fire there, and I'd go there sometimes every day. There'd be this big basement. Every record was 50p, then they were 20p, and the amount of tunes I got in there, like, literally 20p, you'd go in there with a fiver, and just, there was no internet for people to check prices on, so
it really was. If you had some sort of idea, or a lot of times you'd pick stuff just because it sounded cool, didn't you?
Or if there's a cool word in the title, or the cover's cool, or the label looks a bit like, I remember I learnt so much from that. And I also bought so many shit records as well, because you'd come home with, like, a stack 20p records.
But that's part of the learning thing as well.
2 or 3 in there that would be like, okay, now I've got a name or a label to look out for, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of places, you couldn't listen to the records, and like, if you're digging in their basement and you pull out 30 records, they're not going to put you on the deck upstairs.
And there'd always be like annoying sort of like a vocal in a tune that you knew or that you'd heard on the radio, and then there'd be like these records with the same title as that vocal, and you'd think you'd found it, and you'd get it home and it'd be some awful like Euro house or something with the same vocal but a different thing. I remember that it was a bit later, 91, there was that on Target, what was it called? Target, the Belgian label.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
They did a couple of hardcore records by, the one that goes Milk of Magnesia.
Yes.
Is it? I can't remember what the name is. I know the name really well. Anyway, it used to be this, like, really I thought it was a Duff label, like a blue sleeve, and it was called Milk of Magnesia. And I remember getting really excited, thinking I'd found this one, and it just wasn't there at all. But yeah,
it was something about actually drinking milk of magnesia to regulate your bowel movements.
Oh, maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Well, do you know what? You probably don't remember this one, but I know there was a shop at the end of the 80s that I used to go right down near Petticoat Lane. I'm putting this out on the podcast just because I've Googled this. I can't seem to find it, but I used to buy loads of Belgian stuff in there because that was the first place they had, I know, in 88 or something, maybe before that, 87, they had a section of Belgian techno, and I used to buy Belgian stuff there, but I can't find anything about this shop. And it was around the back of, near where Petticoat Lane was, all around the back of Whitechapel.
Right.
And again, it was only there for a little bit. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out there because, you know, some people do watch these things and go, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. All right.
Help him. Help me. Comment.
But it was one of them that never gets talked about. And I said, because there was that time when Belgium sort of stuff come in.
But yeah, I love, all the new, I reissued 2 of my favourite ever new beats on Don't, which was Zaza La Boom, Something Scary, and Donut Dollies by H2N03, I think he was called. They were called. But yeah, it was just, those times were just a big melting pot for my young ears, like just hearing all this stuff for the first. And that was the thing, I didn't make any I didn't separate, like, you know, Masters at Work, or like Todd Terry, for example, was who I love. Like Todd Terry was a big kind of thing as well. 1989, 90, obviously. He'd been going for a few years before people were still playing that stuff. So like a Todd Terry record, a Bleeps Posse record, and like, don't know, some slight, you know, Spectrum, the on R&S.
The Brazil.
Brazil, exactly.
Yeah, that's a tune. I mean, that's been sampled loads. Loads of the hardcore people sampled that.
Right.
That's
well, like all that, for example, those 3 types of tune, they couldn't be more different. Yeah. But to me, they were all just, you know, and Hard Noise, Untitled, they were the same. They weren't the same, but they were like part of this thing. And I didn't. It was only kind of later when techno, inverted commas, as in like more banging and less kind of soul-y, I don't know, less wistful or less thoughtful stuff that was around in.
Yeah, it was more when the purist sort of scenes came in that sort of disappeared.
Yeah.
And, you know, I told the story with Giselle, I think it was, but going to Lost, and like they all looked down on me because I'd just come from like a rain dance, or, you know, or
right,
like,
yeah.
You know, and it was like, you know, it was that thing of people suddenly were like, you know, oh, you like that sort of music.
Cheesy quaver.
Yeah, exactly. And
but it was only when I got it, like, 95, 94, 95 maybe, when I kind of was able to trace a few, like, I keep mentioning Beltram, but like there was a big Beltram record out around that time called Drone, and it's like, Beltram, like Energy Flash, and then you kind of just make all these connections, because I skipped out a couple of years, like 92 to sort of, I guess 2 and 3, I was into the hardcore stuff. That was where but I hadn't realised I'd jumped out of techno until I jumped back into it, and then I realised, these are the same. It's the same music, but it's just kind of progressed from 1990 to this now. Like going to Final Frontier at Club UK was what I used to do a lot, and that's where I got my kind of new techno education. And I didn't realise that it was the same.
Well, you said about jumping out. I think, I mean, again, that's what happens to the music stuff. I think, you know, you sort of, again, you go into phases. So, yeah, probably 92, 93, I was the same as you. Yeah. You ended up just going to all these raves, you know, so, you just got lost in all that sort of world of, like...
That was the thing, but I hadn't even realised what I was listening to was techno, or...
Yeah.
Until later, it was like, that is actually the same thing, but a younger version of it, kind of thing, like... And yeah, another station that we'd listened to was called CLR, which I think stood for Central London Radio, and I don't know where they were based.
Central London?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, but people say Central London for everything.
What does that even mean? Yeah.
Exactly. It just means within the M25.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, we used to pick them up. Sometimes they wouldn't always be on. And when we did, it would always be this couple of DJs, and they were called Tony J and the Dectician. And like they did this.
So what sort of era? Is this Fantasy FM times, or is this before
same
or
time
after?
as Fantasy.
Same time.
I think it would have been 1990.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. And it was like a double act kind of thing. And yeah, I don't know if the Decticians. Oh yeah, no, they did speak. I think they both spoke.
He's not related to the Dexorcist, no.
He's not. No.
Okay.
No, not that I know of anyway. And I got a kind of story about them because with this tape for ages that I was obsessed with this one tune on it, which was like I kind of gradually as the years rolled on and I got a little bit more knowledgeable about sort of, you know, funk and sample sources and all this, I could gradually start to pick out, it's from Shaft, like, and the breaks from this, and yeah, but it was a kind of hip-hoppy instrumental tune, but fast, like about 125 BPM, really wicked kind of b-boy, sped up b-boy breaks with lots of kind of scratching in it and stuff. And I'd play this to everyone, say, what's this tune? No one ever knew. And then with the rise of Facebook, I just suddenly, I think I came across Tony J was on, I saw he was friends with someone I was friends with or something, and I saw, I kind of sent him a message saying, oh look, we used to, the reason I sent him a message was so that thinking maybe he'll remember what this tune was, and I was like, hey, we used to listen to you on CLR, and he was really sound. He was like, what, CLR? He's like, God, I didn't think anyone was listening to that. Like literally, it was just us like doing this. We didn't know like if anyone was kind of paying attention or picking us up. And I was like, yeah, well, no, we'd always check to see if it was on. Like, and I said, I don't suppose you could try and idea a tune for me. And I sent him the little clip of it, and he was like, sorry man, I've got no idea.
Yeah, 20 years ago, mate.
Yeah. Well, it's more than that, I think.
No, yeah, well, no, it is funny. I mean, occasionally I've got old mixes from the early 90s, and there's a tune, and I can't remember what I was playing exactly. And you're like, oh, that sounds all right, that. Normally it's some weird techno thing. But anyway, go on. So, he couldn't identify.
He couldn't idea it. And then I said, oh, do you want, I've got a recording of the whole show. Do you want it? And he was like, what? No, yeah, please. And I sent it to him, and he was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I suddenly was like, what's happened to all your records then? Have you still got all those tunes? And he was like, yeah, they're all in my shed. Like, I haven't taken them out for years and years. And I was like, do you want to sell them to me? Like, I'll buy the whole lot. And he was like, yeah, all right. And he gave me like a decent price. It was a lot of records. I seem to remember it was about maybe even 1,500, between 1,000 and 1,500.
Nice. Wow.
And so that was when I started buying and selling collections, really. And it's what I had a record. Well, I managed a record shop for like a long time in the late 90s and early 2000s. So I've always been like, I just love going through records and seeing, especially people's collections, like seeing the lineage of like, okay, so, you know, I could see late 80s, it was all kind of like, his collection was like sort of that sort of street soul-y sort of stuff, like the UK kind of.
All right, and that's interesting. I never really thought about that. So you can almost it's like a fingerprint idea of like, you can trace someone's...
You can totally do that, and I do that
I never
with
thought
every
about
collection I do. And so it went from there. Then he had like the kind of, you know, a few, you know, the odd tracks records, a bit of acid, and then 1990 there was like loads of stuff from 1990. Then into the hardcore, 92, then sort of just as it started getting into like, there were a few 93 stuff, which is kind of the really valuable stuff, but just as it started getting into there, then it went to like house. Then he sort of got off that track and was on house.
Okay.
And I was a bit like, oh no.
No, why'd you change your taste?
Yeah, but
probably started going a bit too mental for him, yeah.
But yeah, so, and I searched through all of these records and I found that record that was the exact same copy that I had on a tape.
Amazing.
Would have been. So that was...
Do you want to name the tune?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. It was Power Cut Crew, and they're from, well, the label was Vinyl Lab from Ladbroke Grove. The Cash Crew were on that label as well, who were like a kind of local hip-hop crew. And I think it's called Power Cuts 2, and it's a wicked tune, so yeah.
Is it a rare record, or it was just like an obscure record? It's just, not like a valuable record, it was just obscure.
Not. It's still, it's still on Discogs for like, £6 probably or something. Yeah. But yeah.
I know, but it's one of them. Well, it's like music, isn't it? There's loads of brilliant records that for whatever reason, like they didn't become...
Exactly, there's so many. I want to do like a series, in fact, of like posts of like, I do some record posts on Instagram where I kind of just play, like have it on the record. I've started doing it in lockdown, in fact, to give me something to do, to be able to still play out, but like, still share music. But yeah, it kind of annoys me when some people, they only post like really rare or valuable, expensive records, and it's a bit like, a bit one-uppy kind of thing, whereas in actual fact, like, £2, £3, there's such a lot of like really good tunes that are still...
There's plenty of just weird tunes that...
Yeah,
I've got this one called... I found it the other day, I haven't read it for years. It's called Do the Freaky. And it's this weird acid break tune from early 90s.
Right.
There's hardly anyone's got it on Discogs. But like, it's kind of just... It doesn't make any sense. It's kind of really off and like out there record.
Is it out of... Are the beats
The
out
beats
of
are
sync?
slightly... bits are out. And it's kind of this weird fucked up record. I don't know who made it. It sounds like a total... mental record.
Yeah.
It's the sort of record that could either be like hundreds of quid or some really obscure or nothing, and it's kind of nothing because no one knows about it.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing of...
It's totally that vibe, like when I'm going through collections, like you'll think, oh, this is going to be a really kind of valuable record, and you'll look and it will be like £1, and then you'll almost chuck one in the bin and think, oh, I'll check it, and it will be like, 700 people want this obscure white label.
For sure.
But I think that, a lot of those really expensive Holy Grail ones, like I do think some of them, it is nostalgism, and they didn't make it to a full run often for a reason.
Yeah, well, look, a lot of times the ones that go for a lot of money are the ones that, exactly.
You'll buy it and then it will just be in your shelf, and you might show it to some. Oh, I got this one, but that will be the only time it comes out of the shelf.
Yeah, I've got some hardcore record like that, which I know is a 250, 300 quid one. It's one of the most sought after, and the tune is pretty rubbish.
Yeah.
And it was one that came with a free condom, I think. And it's one of them tunes. It's shit. And I keep thinking, and I don't sell much of my old hardcore because I've got, I'm like you, I've got hundreds and hundreds of these sort of fucking rare records. But I'm like, it's not really. It really is a rubbish tune.
And that was something that happened loads back then. Was that because all the breaks were done on an Akai, so you have to it's not like now you put something into Ableton and you can adjust the pitch up and down at the tune and it will stay in time. Like then you had to time it to the tempo.
Well, yeah, and you
get bang on.
Yeah, and using your ears. Yeah.
I don't know why people didn't go, oh, hold on, that's not quite right, is it? Let's go in and just adjust that. No, they just
well, they didn't know.
That's all right.
They didn't know. Well, no. I will, exactly. For years, there were certain records I couldn't really mix.
Yeah.
And all right, but maybe I was a bit more, I was still learning to mix in the early 90s, whatever. But I listened to it years later, I was like, well, no wonder I couldn't fucking mix this, because the breaks are massively out.
The breaks go, and then there's a little bit at the end of each bar that's extra, and then it starts again.
Exactly.
And that means that all the hi-hats on the beat will also be out of time.
No, exactly. So I felt better, because I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I know that. And to be honest, it's that thing of sometimes too much knowledge can maybe spoil it for you, because you are listening going, that's out now, whereas before... Some of them, they did have a certain, raw raw sound to them that was...
And the DJ's probably mixing it out of time anyway, so it doesn't... Even if it was in time, the mixes are all train wrecky. So,
yeah, exactly. Oh, that's cool. You got that tune though. Like,
yeah.
All right, so you still got that tune. You didn't get rid of that one.
Yeah, no, I've still got. I mean, I think by that time I'd already tracked it down.
Yeah.
And bought a copy.
All right.
But when I went through it.
Oh no, it's mad. You got the original one.
Yeah, I've got the one that we listened to.
Yeah, no, amazing.
So yeah, thanks Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. Shouts to Tony.
Yes. Oh yeah, and he said to me as well. He said, "Oh, and do." He's like, because I said, yeah, it was the dectician as well, and he was like, oh yeah, and he said, you know what happened to him, and I was like, oh, thought it was going to be some like horrible story, like no, what? And he's like, oh, he changed his name to Tall Paul, and I was like, oh right, okay, like so Tall Paul was, you know, what's that big tune? He had some big house tunes. Turn It Out, I want to say. I don't know. There was a few.
I don't know.
Mid-90s Saturday.
I mean, I know he was massive, Tall Paul, but yeah, I don't know. If you ever DJ with Tall Paul, that'd be a good story to drop about the cassette. He might be, Don't know if he's still into that. Yeah.
That's CLR. Right?
Yeah, all right. So was that quite an obscure one? Like you said, like you didn't think anyone was.
I think it was. I don't think I met other people who remember it. Not that I've mentioned them loads, but yeah, I feel like it was maybe quite short lived. And they went on to be on. Oh, what's the one? Not was it? No, it wasn't Chillin'. Touchdown. I don't even need the phone. Touchdown. Do you know Touchdown?
I don't really remember Touchdown.
Okay, right.
I don't really ring a bell. Yeah, all right.
It was Touchdown. So I know Tony J went on to be on that. That was another we used to listen to. And so after Fantasy went off, we kind of moved on to Chillin', Pulse FM, which was another big influence on me. DJ Eclipse, who was on Pulse FM, who was also a scratcher. I was really into the scratching. That's where I kind of started scratching basically because of Hype and then Eclipse. They were, and by that time Eclipse was on Innocence FM and then Pulse FM, or possibly at the same time. He was on both of them, and yeah, he was also the kind of a loose part of a crew called Intense, who did their first record was called Jock's Nightmare, which was sampled from Prisoner Cell Block H, which was for some reason like big with all the music heads, heads at the time.
Well, I won't go off into too much of a tangent, but I've got a big love for Prisoner Cell Block H. And partly for a certain generation was like, when we used to smoke loads of, well, it wasn't really weed, it was shit hash, to be honest. But like it'd always be on, in the week on ITV. So it was like late night, smoking loads of...
like 11 PM or something.
Yeah, it was something like after the news, so we'd always watch it. I remember at Stacey's we'd watch loads of Prisoner.
Yeah, we watched loads of Prisoner.
So... There was a couple of Prisoner Cell Block H rave tunes. There's a really appalling one with the theme song.
He used to give me roses.
Yeah, exactly.
She used to give me roses.
Exactly. No, that is. Yeah, there's some really appalling ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But I know Jock was the
he was the bad screw.
He was the really mad screw, and I think he ended up murdering a couple of the women.
Okay.
And I think he got murdered in Prisoner. Yeah, and I think there's a classic episode where he gets done. You know, he gets revenge.
He gets his come up.
Yeah, he gets.
You'll keep all that stuff.
He's got. I won't do the accent, but obviously he's called Jock, and he had like, you know, this really bad Australian Scottish accent. He kept going, something lassie.
No, because he's sampled in Jock's Nightmare. He goes, I won't do an impression of it. Anyway, Jock's Nightmare by Intent is a wicked tune, and at the end, Eclipse comes in scratching on the end, and he also, what was the other one he did? Yeah, the Drowsy EP was by them as well, and he's scratching on that. And then they went on to do like loads of really cool kind of, you know, jungly, fast hardcore stuff as well, Intense. And I believe one of the guys from Intense is Bo, who now does who masters like loads and loads of drum and bass. And
okay.
I want to say 487 or something mastering. I might have got those numbers wrong, but
I know exactly who you're talking about, and I know there's numbers involved, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I
think he's from Intense.
Again, this is the sort of thing where I can just cut in a little graphic. It will have the mastering thing. But I know who you're talking about because I've seen
Thomas. Maybe
I've seen his name, and I don't know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah. Anyway.
That was Eclipse anyway.
Oh, amazing!
And I'd love to see what he's. I'm sure I managed to send him a text message like about 8 years ago. Someone from Origin or Call like knew him, and I got in touch to see if he was up for coming and playing at a party. But I can't remember what happened now.
Like you were talking about Unity early on, and I used to buy off Derek all the time. I was good mates with Derek, and me and Stacey both, were good friends with Derek. We'd buy off Derek and Tony in Unity, and I know someone mentioned Derek recently that he's sort of one I haven't seen since the mid-90s, but I'd love to get back in contact, but I don't know, it's a long time ago.
I used to buy from Tony was my record shop kind of in those days. You'd have your person who would kind of know, you're like, they'd go, you're like this one, and like, they'd kind of know your style. And another tune that was really, really formative, like really important in my kind of just in stuff that really hit me hard, was West Street Mob, Electric Boogie, which I can't remember what station or who played it, but I had it on the tape from the radio, but it was just a smidgen. I literally had about 16 bars or something of it, probably 32 bars, like about a minute maybe of this track at most. And I did the cliche thing that everyone says they used to mix on cassettes and stuff. I didn't mix it, but I did get tape to tape and tried to edit it at the right point so it stayed in time, and recorded this
pause button edit or
over and over again so that it became like a 3-minute kind of track of this tune, because I just absolutely loved it. And at the time I didn't know what it was. Like now I know it's Apache, like incredible bongo band. It's just that with a vocoder over the top.
That tune, I mean, that's 84, 85 or maybe...
Yeah, I mean, I heard it later than that, obviously. But yeah.
Yes, well, I heard it when it originally came out, Jerome. But that is so loud. That is so heavy, that tune.
Yeah.
Because if you like, that was the sort of time when it wasn't... There's something about it is so militant. It just slams.
Yeah.
And it's... I think that might have been like Herbie Powers mastering. Do you know Herbie Powers?
I know the name.
He did all the early hip hop mastering, and he was super loud.
Yeah.
That tune, like I said, some of the hardcore, like they were, the early 1990 tunes, they were made in rubbish studios and probably weren't mastered the greatest. That is mastered in top New York studio by some, it had a decent record company behind it. And it just slams the production.
It's really,
it just is proper. You almost just want to, it's like break dance.
Spin on your back.
Yeah, and you literally, that was like an early breakdance tune. People would die trying to spin on their back with that tune because it just makes you think you can spin on your back, whether you can or not.
Yeah. Oh, it's such. I mean, I was obsessed with that, like really obsessed with that tune. Had no idea what it was or anything. And I think I discovered. I think I found it first on the Electric Boogaloo, was it the album, which has another tune on it, which I've actually sampled on a really old record as well. But yeah, that tune, and then I kind of discovered the Grandmaster Flash sort of version of it, which I don't even know which was. I presume that was first, the West Street Mob, but maybe because Flash did one with the Tonto jump on it. That was the same. Is that the one? That's the same thing.
I'm not sure actually.
Tonto, jump on it. It's the same incredible bongo band. And then quite a bit after that, I kind of heard, I heard when I first heard the actual tune, the incredible, Apache played by the bongo band, which then tied into because I was into.
But that was the thing.
Shadows before then.
I think that was the thing though, like because it was Sylvia Robinson from like Sugar Hill, I think.
Right, I
put it
read
out, and
all
it's
about her the other day, and she's that is amazing. Like what she did, and that she was in a kind of soul-y doo-wop group, like a vocalist, and was backing vocalists for loads of huge artists, and then went on to create create Sugar Hill Records. Amazing.
No, exactly. Yeah.
What's her name?
Sylvia Robinson.
Yeah.
I think that's her son in the West Street Mob.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Do you know what? There's another Robinson as well, and this is why I do get confused. You know, there's a couple that they're not related, but they're both called Robinson.
Okay.
But because I've got the album, there's a West Street Mob album.
Yeah, the blue with the blue.
No, the one I've got is red, and they've got a car on the cover, and it's one of them classic early '80s where they're posing in front of some
around
a really flash car that they probably don't own, but they were like look like we're living it. And I think it's one of them. It's got like a lot of them albums. I think it's got a couple of really sort of. I'd have to go back and listen to it, but I've got a feeling it had a couple of dodgy soul tracks on it.
They did some quite sort of, just sort of really vocally kind of things as well.
And they did do another big tune before then. Oh God, I should know this off the top of my head, which is a killer sort of tune, but it's more obviously I'm more into. Love my early hip hop. It's more that sort of style. Yeah. But they've obviously gone. This is a big. Apache's big.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they produced it, and I think it's almost tied in with the electro sort of stuff and smashed it.
Totally did, yeah. The voice on it.
And like I said, they've put proper production into it. It's not just some come out of a bedroom studio. It's done in a really, and so all the top New York crew have sort of mixed it.
Yeah.
But it smashes, yeah.
No, it's great, that. In fact, I need to bring that back out into my kind of when I do hip hop sets and
stuff. This is one of them. Well, it's a bit like Al Nafish, the soul. Yeah. It's partly it's overplayed, or like maybe Al Nafish is, but it's still one of them. You put it on, and you go, just feel it, and it's just still. It's got that. The
bass stabs on it.
Exactly.
It's hard. It's so hard. It's a hard.
But I'm saying it's still hard. It's still if you put that on, people go crazy for it.
Yeah. I play that. I mean, I've played that from time to time. I used to play it a lot. I could never pronounce it though. I didn't know what's it called.
Al Nafish.
Okay.
You're also a friend with sort of foundation of some of the early UK hip hop. One of the early UK hip hop crews. It's a guy called Spats. Can you tell me a bit about Spats? Because I met him one time with you. He's a really cool sort of guy.
Yeah, he was. He was a one-off. R.I.P. Spats.
Yeah, I will say he did pass away, didn't he, in the last year?
I think it was around Christmas last year.
Yeah.
Which is a very sad loss, very unexpected. But he was. I mean, he was in a crew called Criminal Minds, who originally were a sort of. Yeah, they were hip hop. They were very hip hop.
Well, do you know about Spats? Do you know the name? Do you know where that's from?
What, the Covent Garden?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this with Phil Klein really, and because it was basically it was an afternoon hip hop club that Westwood used to do in Oxford Street in the early '80s, and lots of us used to go on a Saturday afternoon, and the venue was called Spats. SPATTS.
Yeah, I heard a lot about it back then. Yeah.
And then, funny enough, I went to the exhibition recently. That was it's the big graph one. Oh, what's his bloody name?
The one at Saatchi.
Yeah.
Not Reclaim the Streets.
No, yeah.
Like that. It's something like that, though, isn't it?
Yeah, what was it called?
Under the Streets, In the Streets, On the Streets.
Something like that. But in that exhibition, they had a room at the start which had loads of flyers, and they had loads of flyers from Spats.
Yeah.
And I took loads of I've cut some pictures in. But obviously, his name, anyway, represent... To those of us a certain age, and I said, I know Phil Klein, and I think... Ben, Dead Silence, and I think Simon as well, Simon Dextercist. Like that was the sort of legendary sort of for all us young electro hip hop fans in the early '80s, because you could go in the afternoon and Westwood would be DJing, and then you buy records in Groove or something like that. So yes. And I'm just repping his name anyway. That's where he got the name. It's quite a cool link back to that early UK hip hop scene.
And Spats, the venue, gets mentioned like a lot by a lot of people in a lot of contexts.
Yeah.
And and it always makes me think of him.
No, fair enough. So all right. So talking about Spats. Yeah.
So he they did a couple. They were Milton Keynes crew. They were like a graffiti and hip hop crew, and a kind of just a crew really. And they did 2 records. I think it was Spats and Halo was the other producer, DJ from the group. It was Tales from the Wasteland and I've forgotten the name of the other one.
That's all right.
But yeah, two records, which were, I guess at the time, were maybe largely kind of, fell under the radar slightly, perhaps, kind of late 80s. And then they kind of kept going, and then when hardcore came along, they found themselves in that, doing lots of tunes.
Well, if you want to talk about the link between early UK hip hop and hardcore, you can't really get a finer example or literally like a more obvious lineage than them, because their early couple of records, which by the way, I think there's at least one of them goes for a fortune.
Yeah, I think they got reissued rather. Quite a few years ago now.
I bought the reissues, those were the sort of records, to be honest, I was buying down at Vinyl Solution in Westbourne Park called Phil Asher, because I got loads of early UK hip hop down there. And I've seen a few of them now going for, again, for a while.
Yeah, they
people
used
like
to be crazy prices.
Well, for a while, people used to just ignore that stuff and almost take the piss out of the UK hip hop and almost dismiss it all. And then a few years later, almost there was again people looking back, and I don't know if it was more because of the hardcore influence that people were suddenly going back and giving it more respect.
I don't know. Yeah, there was a sort of surge, and during that surge, I think it was about 2010, 11-ish, around there, and Reflex reissued a load of Criminal Minds.
That's why I got it on the reissue. Yeah.
Oh right. Okay.
I got the Reflex ones. Yeah.
That wasn't the. I don't think that was the 12-inch.
Oh, wasn't it? Okay.
I think that was slightly later stuff. It might have been. I think there was like Widowmaker and stuff was on that reissue. But yeah, so they played. I think it was a Reflex night maybe at Corsica. Well, that's where I met Spats anyway. He was doing a gig. They were doing a gig. Spats, Chris, Warren and Justin were the 3 MCs. Halo wasn't with them anymore by this time. And I got chatting to him, and he'd been doing lots of new stuff. And I had the label Fat Hop, which was my kind of hip hop. Well, at that time it was just me making stuff under the name Itsu Uno, which was kind of more like 7 inches b-boy kind of style break, with a slight, I guess, friendly kind of almost cheesy edge to it maybe. But yeah, it was influenced.
They're wicked, them tunes. I love all that sort of stuff.
Oh, nice one, yeah.
Yeah, man, I love all that cut up sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's exactly. It was like kind of, cut up, cold cutty sort of.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a certain not too serious.
Yeah. So up until then, the label had just been me doing these 7s, and then I asked him if he'd wanted to put the new stuff on Fat Hop, and he was up for it. So we did. I started a new wing, which was Fat Hop Special #1 was Criminal Minds Regroup the Loops EP. It was a 6-tracker with his production. It's crazy how good his production, like just his ideas and how good he was. And that started off the kind of vocal hip hop wing of the label, which then we did a couple of collaborations on the next 2 records, which were under the name 32 Troop, which was basically Spats kind of organising a load of MCs, like lots of people who'd do a verse, he'd do a beat, they'd all do a verse each, he'd give it all to me and this guy called Merlin in Germany, and we'd each do a version as well and like choose which verses to put on it, because you couldn't put all of them, there were too many. And that was the next 2 records. And he was he just constantly would send me stuff. Like it became almost overwhelming, like there was so much kind of stuff and so just musical. And he was also in an act called Environmental Science, after Criminal Minds was like Baptized by Dub is the one everyone will know. It was a really huge tune.
Well, this was the weird thing because they did all the UK hip hop, and then they totally switched into these rave tunes. Like I said, Baptized by Dub, Can't Beat the System, Go with the Flow.
A lot of people, MC Duke.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people just know it from that. You know, when they hear that, they might not know it's Criminal Minds, but they know that tune. Yeah. That was massive tunes. So it was quite weird how, well, like we said, it's understandable in the trajectory of how that music went, but they really did go from those underground hip hop to suddenly they did massive loads of mad rave tunes.
And then they were on all like, I can't remember the label.
I mean, I've got loads of Criminal Minds rave tunes. They, that wasn't. Yeah. I know that was the big one, but they did other ones like.
No, they did loads.
Loads of classic tunes.
Yeah.
So that's a quite weird little sort of journey he had for all these different types of music.
And then he went, I guess, in a sort of 95-ish maybe. He's 6. Environmental Science was more breaksy and a bit more contemplative. Is that a word? Contemplative. It was a bit more sort of. Yeah, just a bit more thoughtful.
I don't know that stuff actually. Yeah,
it was kind of. I guess it melded in, fit in a bit with the kind of the breakbeaty, not trip hop, but like the kind of new school breaks at one end, trip hop at another, and they were kind of like, like I think they do some live kind of shows with instrumentalists on stage and stuff. And he was doing lots of stuff until. Well, they've just reissued pretty much all the old Criminal Minds stuff on via Night Force. Is it Night Force? Night Force, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You mean the rave stuff, or
yeah, the rave stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, because I did meet him one. Well, I met him with you, down at Planet Wax.
That's right. We just so I became their kind of scratch DJ for the Criminal Minds live shows. We did a few, we did Rain Dance, we did Orange at the we did and then lots of hip hop stuff in that early 10s, 2012, 13. We were doing lots. There was a real kind of, from where I was standing, there seemed to be a real bulge in the UK hip hop kind of thing again, the hardcore hip hop, the old school stuff, kind of older crowds who were probably around at the time of it, the first time round, Chrominil inspired, Dookie Squad, Specific, Whirlwind D, like all these people, Beeline Recordings is their label. There was a real surge, like South Coast, there was lots of kind of people doing records.
Well, yeah, like you said, some of that stuff, it's sort of, I mean, I don't know if he was doing stuff constantly for the last 25, 30 years, but almost felt like they had a little dip and then they sort of come back into it. This is what happens to music, isn't it? And then, you sort of move through little sort of scenes and, like I said, I remember having a good old chat with him when I met him with you, and he was a really cool guy.
He was an interesting chap. Yeah.
And he was definitely someone I've got my little list of people I want for the podcast. He was on the list, and I remember he gave me his number, and obviously, it never happened, and it won't. So
that was after we'd just done I can't remember, it was some venue in Old Street somewhere. We'd done a live PA, and I was a bit like, what are we gonna do? And he was around for the night, waiting for the first train. And I remembered there was something on at Planet Wax. I said, let's go there. And he was like, yeah, cool. So we went, and it's really nice. I really like it when different factions of your friends kind of meet. It's always a bit like, are they going to get on? But he loved it. He had a really great
I mean, I remember I had a good old chat about again, because he was called Spats, I think we were even talking about that again, that's one of them two old hip hop heads, you sort of nerd out on that sort of shit. But all right, well, R.I.P. Spats, man.
Yeah,
man. He was a cool guy.
Ian, yeah.